I've been thinking about this new moon coming up in Gemini. It's May 26, 27, 2025. It's already got my mind moving, and that's good, right? That's because it's Gemini. Gemini is a spark. It's a spark of our mind. And the song that came to me, I always have songs that come to me right before I start recording, and it was Virtual Insanity. Do you remember that video? It's Jamiroquai. It was just so wild the way they had all these things moving. He was walking. I mean, I'll put a thing on there because I can't explain it even. There's so many things going on in that video, in the lyrics, in the thoughts. There is nothing worse than a man-made man. There's nothing worse than a foolish man. Virtual insanity is what we're living in. There's a bunch of things in here about technology. Oh, here it is. For these useless twistings of our new technology. And now there's no sound, for we all live underground. Kind of feels like a dystopian conceptual thing, like Pluto and Aquarius gone bad or something like that. Well, there's some connections to Pluto and Aquarius for this new moon, and there are even bigger connotations because Saturn will have just moved into Aries for this. Happens on the 25th, and then the new moon happens on the 26th, 27th. So there's a brand new energy of Saturn in Aries. It's huge. It's a big deal. So this new moon is also a supermoon, amplifies it. So even though we don't see it, it's closer to us. And this makes it even more interesting because it's a non-visible thing. It's more of a sensation. We feel it. Because Gemini is such a ideas-based thing, I got out a bunch of my books, and I'm going to read a few different. Don't leave just because I said I'm going to read to you from books. I promise it'll be interesting. I'm going to read to you some very curated, exciting pieces of my astrological library that we're going to connect to this Gemini new moon for you. Then we're going to talk about the aspects. We're going to learn about what we can do with it. And of course, I always have some surprises and goodies in there for you. Before we go any further, I just wanted to tell you, I'm going to take the ads off of this video just because they bug me, man. I was gifted a really nice year or so from our Google Fi for YouTube Premium, and it was wonderful. You get used to it really fast, and then it ended, and oh my gosh, the ads drive me nuts. And so for this video, I am not putting any mid-roll ads on. There is some income that I will lose from not doing this, so I'm going to tell you one thing, that I have memberships. I've started making my videos members only Mondays. And the only intention there is to create a smaller little group community if you want to interact with me more, if you want to ask specific questions about astrology, or you want to have more of whatever it is that comes out of my brain for members only content, that is available to you. Okay, so I've officially sponsored my own video today. Thank you very much. Thank you for allowing me to do that. Okay. First of all, what is this Gemini thing? I'm going to read to you from, book number 1, Horoscope Symbols by Robert Hand. He's one of the 3 Roberts. They're Robert Hand, Robert Zoller, and who's the third one? Can't remember. I'll think about it. Robert, gosh, if you know. They're the 3 Project Hindsight Roberts that were the ones that went back and found books from the Hellenistic era that were actually astrological. They were the first astrologers that were actually able to translate these texts that are astrological texts instead of just academics. So that brought a lot of really great Hellenistic techniques back into the world. Anyway, here he is, Robert Hand. Here's what he says about Gemini. Gemini is probably the most perfectly mutable of all mutable signs because there's something inherently mutable about air. Like the wind, the nature of Gemini is to move rapidly from place to place, covering everything it encounters, but perhaps too rapidly to get a deep impression of anything. Now, he likes to talk about in this how these signs, they follow each other and they sort of react to each other. I really love this concept. In Aries and Taurus, we have the building and the animating of the physical body. In Gemini and Cancer, we have the development of the mental and the emotional aspects of the individual. So he says, preceding Cancer, so comes before Cancer, the first water sign, Gemini is not yet aware that there are deeper aspects of reality that are not immediately amenable to logic and rational analysis. It understands quickly, but does not empathize. It learns quickly, but does not develop that deep feeling understanding of the world that enables it and some people to live skillfully without really having to think much. What does it mean? This is Gemini in a vacuum. That's what Gemini's archetype is. So when we have different planets in Gemini, it takes on that filter. So let's look at the aspects. Let's pull up this chart. When I pulled this up, I really liked what I saw because we have a beautiful minor triangle. We have Pluto in Aquarius at 3 degrees. We have Saturn and Neptune coming into a conjunction within 1 degree in Aries there. And then it's coming into Mercury at 2 degrees of Gemini. Mercury is very close to the conjunction of the sun and the moon, the new moon, and it's in its home sign. So this amplifies. Not only is it a supermoon, not only is it in its own sign, Mercury, so it's completely free to Mercury and influence this new moon in such an incredibly brilliant way with ideas and thoughts and action, activity, but it's also getting super support from Pluto up in Aquarius. This is a trine that it's getting. And then it's sextiling to Saturn and Aries. This is a big deal. And that also sextiles to Pluto. So that's a minor triangle. It's very, very positive energy. And in the meantime, we also have Venus and Mars coming into a beautiful trine whenever those two get together. Ooh, fire sign. This is really nice too. So this is incredible for manifestation. We put some intention into this. We're going to get something out of it. When I see these together, Pluto, Saturn, and Mercury, what does it mean? Oh, second book number 2. This is one of my favorites, The Archetypal Universe. I've mentioned it plenty of times. Ren Butler. So what he does in this book is he takes 3 planets, he can put them together and synthesize them in a really, really beautiful way. So for Pluto, Saturn, and Mercury, an inherently focused mind, a gift for deep and serious study, a capacity to tackle the most difficult and demanding projects, mental tenacity, and toughness. That is what we have. A lot of support for that, stimulation for that. The aspects making that beautiful minor triangle come together to allow us to choose something. What do we want to learn? What is that? Remember, we talk about new moons. It's time to put some seeds in the ground so something will grow later. And I'll tell you, I have been trying to learn something. I've been trying to learn Latin, and I've been trying to learn Latin on Duolingo for a while. I was doing that for a long time, and I got pretty far. The reason I want to learn Latin, okay, I'll start there, is because I want to be able to read those texts like Project Hindsight, Robert Zoller, Robert Hand, and Robert, it's probably like Smith or Jones. It's something really easy. Okay, those guys knew Latin, they knew Greek. They were able to go to source documents and read them and interpret it themselves. That's what I want to do. So I want to learn Latin for that. Duolingo's great, but it was basically teaching me stuff about Novum Eberaki and Philadelphia, and I am from these places. I don't care about that. That's not going to be in an ancient text. So I found this guy, Wheeler's Latin, and this Wheeler's Latin, and because I really was serious, I got the workbook too. Wheeler is the guy that came up with the system, and he did that for the GIs. This was after World War II. A lot of GIs came home from the war and they had the GI Bill so they could go to college. But in order to learn back in the 40s, 30s, 40s, whatever, in that era, you had to know Latin. And a lot of these guys, they didn't learn Latin in school. So Wheeler developed this process of how to teach Latin to these adults. I started trying to learn this. And well, what happened was that it was frustrating. It was frustrating to me because it was a very old method of teaching, and it wasn't how I learned. It didn't feel like it was going in my mind. You had to know all these things about grammar that they don't teach us anymore. So in order to learn, you had to also learn, what is this grammar thing? What do these things even mean? I mean, present indicative active. I don't know what that is. I decided I would go on to Grok, the AI, and put it in and ask it to help me figure out how I can, the specific things that I wanted to learn, how to learn it using this exact text. And it was phenomenal. So the point of me telling you all this is these planets together, Pluto in Aquarius, Saturn in Aries with Neptune, and Mercury with this new moon, you have about 6 months. If whatever you put your ideas into now, they can be helping you learn things that are things that require discipline, your action, things that are interesting to you. Gemini, curiosity, and something that can transform you, metamorphosize you, can make your life better. Plutonic, Aquarian stuff. And also very Aquarian, using AI, but also very Saturnian, using a very old system. and an old language, and Gemini, curiosity. I want to learn, I want to understand. So I thought that was makes sense, right? I hope so. Another thing that Gemini represents is our communication, our socialization. And I have a little bit of a girl crush on this girl. She makes beautiful films. She's sharing her life, and it's a vlog, but it's travel vlog, and she also has another channel. I'll link them both in the description below. But her name is Ellie, and she's so authentic. She doesn't hide anything about herself, and it's all her struggles and her anxieties and her issues, but she's trying so hard to push herself out of her comfort zone, to explore, and to now do things that are going to connect her to other people.
My hope for this, if it helps just one person, then totally worth it.
Oh, she's so good. She's such a talent. This is about socialization, communication, and facing our fears. Something about this Gemini is the twins, right? In our mind, we all have Gemini somewhere. And Gemini is the twins, and those are the first two communicators. They communicate to each other, and we kind of have that inside of us. There's this voice that's going on, and we're talking to ourselves. I think that's a Gemini aspect. It's very mental. And so sometimes that voice in our head gets to us, and we limit ourselves based on what that voice says.
Have I stopped myself from being as openly creative as possible? Yes, I have. Yes, I have. I want to come out of my shell more with everything. I want to shut that voice up that's going to tell me that I'm going to fail. And some way, somehow, I am shutting that voice up this week.
When you can transcend those, the freedom and the authenticity that you have, it's life-changing. It really is life-changing. And so Ellie, in her videos, she's on the path to doing this, and all of her videos are great. So I highly recommend that you give her a look. All right, let's look at the Sabian symbol next. This is an interesting one. The Sabian symbol for the new moon in Gemini is Gemini 7, an old-fashioned well. Rudyard calls it a well with bucket and rope under the shade of majestic trees. This goes back to, I think, the Saturnian concept of things that are from the past, right? The slowness of Saturn. Saturn is in Aries, though, so it's an active principle. So we have to go to the well. We have to work for it. We have to do Saturn things, which is work, and action, which is Aries, and dig that hole and hope there's water there. Nature's bounty, it gets replenished from the sky. And as long as it's not out of balance where you overtake, too much of that natural resource has to come into some balance. So that's also what can happen with Gemini. It just goes out of balance because there's just too much accumulation of information without it being grounded in something. That's probably important to think about during this new moon. What is it that you want to put your energy into that's going to create something lasting, meaningful, and change you, metamorphosize you? Aquarius with the Pluto and Saturn and Aries adding to this new moon in a very supportive way. It's giving us some chance to go to an inner well. What is inside of you? What do you want to dig deep into and pull something out that's going to, from your soul, replenish your mind, water your interests, your curiosity. Mercury is the ruler of Gemini, and I was reading also one more book number 4, Astrology for Lovers, favorite title, Liz Green. This one is a little mark that I have. Mercury is also known as Mercurius in the medieval symbolism of alchemy, and this tells an important thing about Gemini. Mercurius, as the alchemists tried to describe him, is a symbol of the process of understanding, of connecting, of integrating. When you suddenly realize or understand it, and the light dawns, and two things suddenly click that didn't have any relationship before, the alchemists would have said that was the trickster spirit of Mercurius right at work. Remember those cartoon strips where somebody gets a bright idea and it's pictured as a light bulb suddenly flashing over his head? That's Mercurius. In alchemy, Mercurius connects male and female, allows the great work to complete its transformation of substance. He's called the great transformer and is pictured as being androgynous, male and female both. He is the one who bridges the opposites. It's the interpreter, the translator, the message. The bucket and the rope are the messenger. They're a bridge. It's a bridge, right? The well is a bridge from the earth down in the earth, down below the earth with the water, and coming up into our air, right? Bringing the water into the air. Anyway, something to think about. I don't know. I'm still working on it. Okay, I hope this was helpful for you. I like you just the way you are. Thank you for being with me all the way to the end of this video if you're still here. I do really appreciate your comments, your thoughts, the connections we have, the community that we're building. Okay, I'll talk to you next time.